Hello, and thank you for watching this regional forecast for the Canadian Prairie. I'm Andrew Pritchard, Senior Meteorologist with Nutrien Ag Solutions. Well, we've got a progressive pattern across the Canadian Prairie, across Western Canada right now, and so it didn't make a lot of sense for me to show you kind of the week as a whole, looking at temperature trends or precipitation trends, really. So I'm including a infographic that I generated for a report that goes out here over the coming week, just kind of painting these general regions here where with the jet stream kind of developing into a trough across the western half of the prairie early in the weekend into early next week, but then slowly moving from west to east, we're going to see the heaviest precipitation setting up across northern and western regions. So the Peace River region, they'll be seeing some excess rainfall here as we head through the next 6 to 7 days. As we look further to the south, though, an area of drier conditions overall, but especially as you head into kind of portions of maybe southwestern Saskatchewan, getting into southern Manitoba, starting to get some increasing, or I should say decreasing confidence here, but chances for localized precipitation. How about we go ahead and get into the forecast and I'll explain it there. But this general alignment here with a trend for cooler temperatures moving from west to east across the prairie through the coming week. And then the trend also favors more active conditions, rainier conditions trending from west to east throughout the coming week. So let's go ahead and dive in. Let's look at temperatures across the region right now. Warmest in the southwest, cooler as you head off toward the east. Temperatures still in the double digits here across the prairie, anywhere from the lower teens across southern Manitoba up to around 19 across the southern border of Alberta and Saskatchewan this morning. And as we take a look at the satellite picture here, you can see we've got sunny skies for many across the prairie right now. We've got cloud cover thickest right now across the southern border of Saskatchewan and Alberta, which surprisingly enough is where we are the warmest right now, as we've got kind of warm flow coming in advance of the trough that's parked off the west coast right now. But kind of broken sunshine with some high-level clouds across a big area here across central and southern Saskatchewan down into southern Manitoba. And it looks like some sunny skies here across parts of south-central Alberta as well. Now we have a cool front that's actually sitting across portions of southern Ontario that's spilling some cooler and drier air down into portions of the eastern prairie right now, and that is the reason for kind of the cooler temperatures across those regions here as we get started on this Friday morning. Precipitation, the radar is pretty quiet across the region here on this Friday morning, and it'll be continuing to be pretty quiet across the prairie as we head through the weekend, with some chances for some precipitation as we get into early next week. So let's take a look at that with the high-resolution NAM model. Heading through a quiet Friday, maybe an isolated shower or storm across central and southern Alberta as we head through the day today, but that precipitation should not be widespread. It'll be more miss than hit as we head through the next 24 hours. We'll take it on into Saturday, again continuing to see maybe the chance for some scattered showers and storms across southern portions of Alberta, maybe into far southwestern Saskatchewan, dry as you head east from there. Taking it on into Sunday now. This will be Sunday morning, heading into midday Sunday, and now we've got a frontal boundary kind of extending like this from a trough that's developing here, an area of low pressure across southwestern Alberta. So maybe some scattered showers and storms popping up by midday on Sunday across southeastern Saskatchewan over towards the southern border of Saskatchewan and Manitoba. And this could be where one of our corridors of heavier precipitation sets up. That's what makes this kind of tricky, is when we've got these opportunities for showers and storms across portions of southern Manitoba and Saskatchewan. They're rather localized, and so I think we'll see some corridors here that actually could pick up some significant rainfall here, anywhere from 25 to 35 millimeters of precipitation. But if I were to do a survey of 20 of you across this region, it might be 2 or 3 that actually pick up precipitation like that, with maybe 15 of you ending up with a trace to maybe barely anything. So let's take the drawings off. Let's go ahead and just run this out into Tuesday. So here's midday Monday, showers and storms continuing across isolated portions of southern Manitoba. That frontal boundary clears the area, dry conditions coming in on the backside for the rest of our Monday. And we'll go ahead and look a little bit further range here with the European in a moment, but a look at the total forecast precipitation just raw from the NAM model. Again, this is not exactly how it's going to happen, but you can pick up the trends here with more widespread heavy precipitation back to the northwest. And then as you head over towards kind of the southern border between Saskatchewan and Manitoba into southern Manitoba, you get these corridors where we could get kind of concentrated areas, maybe some training thunderstorms, where a very narrow corridor picks up maybe 25 to 35 millimeters of precipitation. But again, if you just look at this area as a whole over the next 84 hours, a lot of people are remaining pretty dry, or at least keeping things below 5 millimeters. So a tough forecast to convey. Don't be surprised or caught completely off guard if you do end up with some precipitation there, but know that you're probably in the minority if that ends up being the case. Now the pattern here, I mentioned it is progressive. Right now we are starting off with the trough off the Pacific coast, a ridge across the central prairie, and then another big trough here across portions of the Great Lakes, southeastern Ontario, over into Quebec. But if I take the drawings off here, let's go ahead and just kind of progress into next week, watching this trough beginning to make its move. Again, if we were in a blocking pattern right now, would be just parked here. We would keep the ridge across central Canada, but that is not the case as we head into here Sunday, now into Monday. It may not be moving quickly, but taking it on into here Tuesday, Wednesday. Now we get towards the end of the week, that trough is now pushing off to the east of Canada, across Ontario into Quebec, and we're building a new ridge back in across Western Canada. So it's a progressive pattern, and one that's going to be offering up periods of warmth, periods of dry conditions, but then transitioning back to maybe a cooler and stormier pattern as you go every 4 or 5 days or something like that. So we'll look at the temperature trends like this. We'll look at daily temperature anomalies heading through the next week. Again, starting off with that cooler air mass here in the east, and then we've got the ridge building in the west. So, Alberta starting off, above average as we head into the weekend. Watching for that warmer corridor here to kind of move from west to east as we head through now Sunday, getting into Monday and Tuesday. So warmer now, we've kind of flipped the script as we get into just the next few days. So getting into June 14th and 15th, we're now warmer in the west, warmer in the east, cooler in the west. So a progressive pattern here where we continue to kind of move from west to east. And then we'll just take this out a little bit further. I don't remember how long I included this loop, but taking it into that end of the next week, getting into around June 18th and 19th, and look, we flipped the script once again, warmer in the west, cooler in the east now, again, as this progressive pattern just continues from west to east across the region. Accompanying that, of course, is the transition from drier to wetter across the region. So we're a bit dry now. High pressure across the eastern half of the prairie, with that trough beginning to emerge across the Pacific coast here. So we're drier in the west, wetter in the... I'm sorry, I got my directions all kinds of turned around right now. Wetter in the west, drier in the east. But as we head into the weekend here, now we're into Saturday, now taking it to Sunday. Here's where we start to see that trough beginning to emerge, that area of low pressure bringing the chance for some precipitation across this region in potentially narrow corridors as we get into Monday and Tuesday now. Let's take this a little bit further now. We get another dry spell here on the backside of that system Tuesday into Wednesday, but another area of low pressure begins to make its way in as the main trough begins to move from west to east, with heavier precipitation possible here as we get into the end, or the middle to the end of the week. Late Tuesday getting into Wednesday, with that precipitation now becoming widespread across the prairie. And the trend has been for slightly heavier precipitation here to end the week. So, as we get into Wednesday and Thursday, we'll have to kind of check back in on the actual significance of this mid to late week precipitation across the region. As we kind of look at the ensemble forecast here, it's the probability of getting an inch or more of precipitation. Of course, that'd be 25 millimeters of precipitation, and the probability chart down here at the bottom. We've got high confidence again in excess precipitation as you head off toward the northwest, the Peace River region. A lot of areas going to be seeing more than 25 millimeters of precipitation, if not up close to 40 to 60. But as we kind of look at this area here, kind of central Saskatchewan, down toward the southern border of Saskatchewan and Manitoba, those probabilities starting to pick up to around 40 to 50%. And so again, some folks may be picking up that 25 millimeters, maybe an inch of rain, but again, you'll probably be in the minority. But this kind of midweek time frame, that's something that gives me pause and maybe low confidence there. So let's check back in on Monday morning with how things have trended. We've got high confidence in that weekend pattern. We'll be watching for maybe a couple corridors of precipitation across that region as we get into Monday and Tuesday. But just kind of understanding, I guess I'm getting hung up on the details here, the progressive pattern, the progressive nature to that, fluctuations between warmer and drier periods, and then cooler and rainier periods, generally on a time scale of maybe 3 to 5 days across the prairie. And if we just toss the GFS on there, the GFS ensemble, we see similar things. Again, high confidence in excess precipitation as you head off toward the northwest, and then as you kind of focus in on this corridor here, southern and eastern Saskatchewan into southern and central Manitoba. That's where, again, we're going to get some precipitation. It's not going to be totally dry. It's drier overall, with localized opportunities to kind of hit the weekly, average or expected precip, if not maybe get a little bit above that. So low confidence within that region, something we'll have to kind of watch day by day. We'll take a look at temperature trends again in the in the west. That's where we'll be trending cooler over the next 5 to 6 days. A high of 27 today in Calgary, all the way down to 15 for the high on Wednesday. Edmonton, a similar trajectory, cooling off, bottoming out right around Tuesday before we start to warm up. Again, it's a progressive pattern here. What goes up must come down, and what goes down must come right back up. So Saskatoon, a high of 29 on Saturday, 14 for the high on Wednesday, 30 in Regina on Saturday, and then 18 on Wednesday. And then as you head all the way off to the east, this is where we're a little bit delayed. So we're feeling that cooler air mass today, trending warmer as we head into the early part of next week. But that cold front moves through just a few days later, bottoming out here Thursday and Friday with highs in the upper teens or the lower 20s. Have a great day, a wonderful weekend, and we'll talk to you again on Monday morning.